So I'm going to read the title page and the inside front cover, and then I'm going to let someone else. I'm skipping over where Bartleman is technically first, but I'm going to skip over that. And then if you would start with reading the table of contents. And I know we don't normally do this, but I want us to get the sort of the layout and the structure of the way the text has a formulation, even as we're going into the detail of it. I think it's quite useful to reference how it's constructed. So I'm starting from the inside cover page, the hidden work, including the periodic table of angels, E.J. Gold, Gateways / IDHHB Publishers. On the cover, E.J. Gold, Between Heaven and Hell, oil on canvas, 60 by 96 inches, 1988. Copyright 1991 by E.J. Gold, all rights reserved, printed in the USA, first printing June 1991. No part of this publication may be reproduced or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic or mechanical, including photocopy, recording, or any information storage and retrieval system now known or to be invented without permission in writing from the copyright holder, except by a reviewer who wishes to quote brief passages in connection with a review written for inclusion in a magazine, newspaper, or broadcast. Library of Congress cataloging in publication data. Gold EJ, the hidden work / EJ Gold P period CM period includes bibliographical references and index. ISBN 89556-088-7, $12.50. 1, spiritual life, period. 2, prayer. I, title. And the rest of it I'm not going to bother reading. And the reason I did that is because this is going to be on YouTube, and I want to make sure that it is understood that it is completely with permission of the author that we are doing this. Bardo Man, would you please give us table of contents?
Table of contents. Forward. Should I say IV or 4?
Oh, the page number. Oh, yeah. I think you have to do IV.
Table of contents. Forward. IV. Editor's preface. VI. 1. A fragment on parchment. 1. Number 2, the hidden work. 5. 3, Elkdonis, page 17.
Hey, Bartleman? Yeah. Name it chapter. That's chapter 3.
Is that chapter?
Yeah, and then Elkdonis, and then page 17. It'll be.
I'm going to start again because I can edit that out. All that.
Yes.
I can edit that out.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, we'll start again.
Yes.
Table of contents. Forward. IV. Editor's preface. VI. Number 1. A fragment on parchment. Chapter 1. Number 2. The hidden work. Chapter 5. Number 3.
No, it's page 5. Page 5. Chapter 2, page 5. Chapter 1, page 1.
Clean it and study it. You can do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I say, I can edit all this out. I have that
Yes.
magical power.
Yes.
I'm the charm.
You're the man.
No one will notice my mistakes. Okay, here we go. Take 3.
I want that for my life.
Ooh.
Here we go. Take 3. Table of contents. Forward. IV. Editor's preface. VI. Chapter 1. A fragment on parchment. Page 1. Chapter 2. The hidden work. Page 5. Chapter 3. Ocdonis. Page 17. Chapter 4. Bound in Return. Page 25. Chapter 5. Being the Absolute. Page 37. Chapter 6. Mother and Child. Page 49. Chapter 7. Pity for the Absolute. Page 55. Chapter 8. How I Changed the Inevitable. Page 69. Chapter 9. Activating the Astral Body. Page 77. Chapter 10. The Lightning Rod Function. Page 93. Chapter 11. The Method of Prayer Absolute. Page 111. Chapter 12. Octaves. Page 117. Chapter 13. Thought for Food. Page 133. Chapter 14. Angelical Choirs. Page 143. Chapter 15. The Periodic Table of Angels. Page 161. Index. Page 177.
Thank you. Bernie, would you please start the forward?
Thank you, Beth.
Yes.
Forward. So, I can hear busy little minds with the emphasis on busy like little, saying, the hidden work? Yes, that's what I meant. Can I start again, Bardo, man?
Sure.
Can I start again, Bardo?
Bardo, man, can you start again?
Can you
Yes.
erase what? Because I am also having my mistakes. Okay.
Absolutely.
Sorry. Please.
Absolutely. Take 2.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Forward. So, I can hear your busy little minds with the emphasis on busy little, saying, the hidden work? Yes, that's what I want. I want the real thing, not the common variety of so-called ideas. I want real knowledge. Well, yes, I'm sure you imagine you do. That's easy for you to imagine. As my old Aunt Mary, or was it Jody? Oh well, no matter, used to say, if you can still say that after you read this, well, that's for the curse, as Sam Snead used to say, I imagine. If, on the other hand, you can do something about it after reading and digesting this, then I pity you, and I'd be willing to sell you some extremely hot pepper sauce, the recipe for which was bequeathed to me by my grandfather. God use his soul for your next meal. You may need it. And I pass.
Thank you. Sandy, carry on, please.
So, I can hear your confused little minds, with the emphasis on minds, saying, What does this all mean? Well, knowing is one thing, and easy as a $2 whore, and doing is quite another. We all wish to know, for what a healing balm knowledge is. Unfortunately, though, it makes no difference. At the same time that we exclaim with fervor our great wish to do, we generally or corporeally run from it like monkeys with our tails on fire. No pun intended this time. No pun intended this time. What we do for our own primate desires, of course, cannot be considered doing in the actual sense of the word. If only we were as expert at the latter as we are at the former. And I'll pass.
Thank you. Wilson.
After reading this extremely useful manual, you may even wonder why anyone would want to do conscious, eternal recurrence being one of the prizes one earns. After all, as a wise monkey once said, ignorance is bliss. And you can well believe that he knew whereof he spoke. In fact, that particular wise monkey's greatest remorse is that no one remembers his name, even though he authored one of the most renowned and oft quoted, after all, we quoted it here, didn't we? Quips of all time. Now, if that doesn't tell you something, what will?
Thank you. Jayesh.
Thank you. If you know, please tell me, as I have been seeking the answer to that for years, more than I would care to admit, or than you would believe anyhow. I do, however, have the sneaking suspicion, confirmed by a very lengthy and close association with the author of this book, E. J. Gould, that the answer may well be closer than it might seem upon superficial investigation. I would recommend, though why you would follow my recommendation is beyond me, pun intended, that you give this book more than one chance to feed you. Mr. Gold, not your usual monkey, knows where from he speaks, and he speaks not to the hungry ghosts that overpopulate our once fair ball of earth and magma, but if you are extraordinarily unlucky, to you. Pass.
Thank you. Ardaman.
I wouldn't insult your intelligence by saying, do you have the ears to hear? Of course you do. I would ask instead, do you have the stomach for it? Lee Lozowick, Prescott, Arizona, March 20, 1991.
Thank you. Editor's preface. This book is a technical manual. It is not intended to substitute for prayer because it is not a prayer in itself. But if you do have the inspiration to pray, it can be a powerful guide to performing real and effective prayer. Ernie.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. The idea that prayer can be real or fake effective or ineffective, is most unusual. It encourages us to question what prayer is, what it is meant for. Purely speaking, prayer is the intentional organization of energy in the form of thoughts, light, sound, emotion, and movement. But it's not the what and how that count in this instance. It's the why. This book is about why we pray. Once we understand this, everything else falls into place. The hidden work addresses the need to update our technology of prayer because there is something seriously wrong with our ways, again, with our way of going about it, something that we have lost and forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy.
The lucid text reminds us that prayer is not the cynical, emotional posturing, pleading, and theatrics that television businessmen, preachers make it out to be. The lucrative side of the business of religion will persist as long as it is generally believed that prayer can be turned toward ourselves and our self-interest. The business is built on our fears, hopes, and dreams. However, this book tells us that prayer is much more than that, and that it is indeed worthwhile, but certainly not as we have come to know and practice it. If you don't have the inspiration to pray before you begin reading, you may discover an element of what has been missing in your life and come to a renewed understanding of the necessity of prayer. Pass.
Thank you. Wilson.
This book is a step-by-step textbook on the technology of prayer. The information is simple, clear, and straightforward, just as we expect it to be in a textbook. Gold briefly paints a historical picture of how we got to be where we are today. He also tells us something about what we can do about our situation. In this sense, he has authored one of the more useful spiritual books that has been written in this century, if not longer. If we speak of technology, it is because real prayer does not spontaneously emerge from an impassioned flight of religious feeling. It is prepared for. It is practiced. It is organized. It is also performed with a particular intention, such as the intention to open up to something far more vast than we can imagine.
Related to the technology of prayer, sorry. Oh, I'll give this again. Related to the technology of prayer, the reader will discover a wealth of information about groups and group work, as well as the existence of angels and their objective posts. This book, in fact, has much to say about angels that is extremely revealing. It contains many secrets, not the least of which is the periodic table of angels, which has taken 100 years to write. As with any model that is used to express an idea, this table leads to new ways of approaching difficult terrain. It is an amazing device which undoubtedly will be used for years to come by serious scholars and students alike. The periodic table of angels introduces such a fundamental idea that one wonders how it escaped us for so long. But isn't that often the case? By directing our attention to the study of periodicity in the higher realms, it connects levels of reality that often remain separate. Once again, Gould shows his ability to blend his scientific background with the handling of higher rather than metaphysical questions. And I pass.
Bartman. You're not turned on, Bartman.
The chapter on octaves provides a different facet of periodicity and helps us grasp a little better the richness of this concept. It is a very useful chapter, although technical, but how could it not be? One of the more extraordinary things about this book is its elucidation of how to pray and why to pray. Gould leads us to understand the hiddenness of real prayer, prayer absolute, the hidden work that can be revealed when we peel away layer upon layer of so-called reality. Because of this, it's a beautiful book. Behind the casual, contemporary, straightforward language, behind the veil of ordinary language, lies a message so profound and so powerful that we cannot be indifferent to it if we care.
In the normal course of events, as individuals, we each live in a bubble, which we call the self. The self provides an insulation system, which we use to protect ourselves from the outside world. From within the realm of the self, we consider ourselves safe. Every once in a while, we venture out into the world and get glimpses of something greater than ourselves. This can take many forms and will ultimately reflect our vision of the world. By the time we get ourselves into a situation where we are able to work with others, either in a study group or a work community, we might momentarily glimpse the larger body of which we are part, the organization that provides us with the service we require through the work community. Pass.
Once in a while, we may see some purpose in this organization that goes beyond its survival. We see more than the organization. We suddenly become aware of something hidden behind it. The hidden aspect of our work community is the school within the structure of our organization, but that's not where it ends. When we find our way to a school, we expose ourselves to the teaching. From the widening vision that the school affords us, we can perhaps see the work, but under ordinary circumstances we cannot. We can't see it from the self-world bubble, nor from the community bubble, and even less from the world at large bubble. In order to see the work, we must align ourselves to the school and the teaching, which relates directly to the work.
As our perception expands from a limited consciousness about ourselves to a wider perception and those around us with whom we work and live. I'm going to give that to you again, sorry. As our perception expands from a limited consciousness about ourselves to a wider perception of those around us with whom we work and live, it can also expand to include those who are part of a higher scheme with which we hope to become involved, namely the school. Attention on the school can, if we are fortunate, expand to an attention on the teaching, which is our real hope. But this can only happen if we are able to broaden our vision and perspective within the teaching. The work is hidden, and within the work is hidden the reason for the work, the mustard seed, the hidden pearl, the pearl without price. The hidden work is one way to expand our reality awareness. It is a call to all those who have ears to hear, so that they may direct their efforts in a useful way, rather than waste the precious energy we wish to send towards the absolute. Pass.
This book will be of great assistance to those who long to serve a higher purpose and make use of the gift of life. It is thoroughly non-denominational, and practitioners of any religion or spiritual path will find its information vital. How encouraging and refreshing it is to discover that there are so many things yet to be learned while we are doing time on planet Earth. I trust you, the reader of this book, will be as grateful as I am to its author for his kindness and selflessness in sharing the results of his discovery with readers from around the world. We need more books like this one. Linda Corvo, April 4th, 1991.
Thank you.
Move on.
Chapter 1. Yes, please.
All right. Left side is a nice painting. E.J. Gold. Red Sky in Morning Oil. 18 by 24, 1987. Serigraph. Edition of 25, 11 by 15, 1990. Chapter 1. A fragment on parchment. Even if we knew what human life on earth was for, would knowing the real purpose of our lives be enough of a motivation to actually get to work? Imagine yourselves to be the only surviving humans on earth. One day, as you prowl through the ruins of previous civilization, you discover a mysterious fragment of parchment containing data about something which was evidently called prayer absolute, about which you in the present generation know nothing whatever. Not only has this knowledge not reached you in the ordinary way, but you cannot even determine its validity in the ordinary way. This is by research because all libraries have been destroyed. All of the scientists, saints, and scholars are dead. You are the only survivors. And I pass.
You, the inhabitants of the future, have met together because this fragment contains a very important idea. And if it does happen to be true, the situation described by the fragmentary parchment is indeed desperate. Pass.
The fragment says, in part, the Absolute is in need of a special activity called prayer absolute, which no other being but man, which is to say, a three-centrum being with an awakened biological machine can perform. For some unfathomable reason, we of our generation do not know why. All throughout the history of human beings, a certain type of prayer was held to have some definite value to the Absolute. And even though we today do not know exactly the purpose of prayer absolute or of what value this activity may be to the Absolute, we know how it was performed, and we have some serious indication that many saints and messengers have thought it so important that they risked their lives to reintroduce it into the life of man. Pass.
So says the fragment of data which you have found written on a mysterious piece of parchment from a past civilization, from which nothing has survived to the present day, and from which you are utterly isolated by some disaster. You know nothing of its science, art, philosophy, or religion. The parchment is interrupted by damage, but in another lower part goes on to say, but the Absolute is not in need of ordinary subjective prayer, which is to say, supplication for some personal favor to be granted by the Absolute for the gratification of the supplicant, but prayer which is the reverse of what is ordinarily understood. Okay, I have to read that again. But the Absolute is not in need of ordinary subjective prayer, which is to say, supplication for some personal favor to be granted by the Absolute for the gratification of the supplicant, but prayer, which is the reverse of what is ordinarily understood. No prayer ordinary man performs in any ordinary way, which suffices to elevation the suffering of the Absolute.
Real prayer is a technical activity, not necessarily enjoyable or understandable. Ordinary ideas about prayer have no reality. Prayer absolute is an entirely different activity in an entirely new category, requiring the temporary passage of those performing this service into much higher dimensions for the sake of the Absolute. The exact technical method for prayer absolute begins as follows.
Here the fragment suddenly leaves off. There are no libraries left, no museums, no churches, no historical documents other than this single fragment from an unknown past civilization. You now understand that the Absolute needs something from you, but you do not know exactly what. How are you to discover what you must do? That's basically where we all sit. And I pass.
I'm going to close the reading of the chapters for today, and I'm going to ask everyone to look at the pages that and the cover that we have looked at so far and pick one sentence, paragraph, or phrase that you would like to share with the group and why you think it has an impact on you. And you've got 3 minutes.
The
Yes.
fragment, yeah, fragment is what catching.
Fragment. Okay.
Yeah, so the prayer absolute is an entirely different activity in an entirely new category, requiring the temporary passage of those performing this service into much higher dimensions for the sake of the absolute. Exact technical method for prayer absolute begins as follows.
And what page was that?
Page 3 of
Great.
chapter 1.
Good. Okay.
So
And
mine's in the introduction. In order to see the work, we must align ourselves to the school and the teaching which relates directly to the work.
And where is that?
That's in the introduction on V3II8
Okay.
at the very bottom of the page. And
Yes, the last sentence at the bottom of the page. Okay.
All right, mine is on page 3. I'm not sure how close this was to JS, but real prayer is a technical activity, not necessarily enjoyable or understandable. Ordinary ideas about prayer have no reality.
I have the same line with Hans Bartelman. In the same page, real prayer is a technical activity, not necessarily enjoyable and or understandable. That I have marked. And also I have marked the Linda editor's preface. It's not in the same line, but it happens to work something in myself. Every once page 8. No, VII.
Okay.
It's every once in a while we venture out into the world and get glimpses of something greater than ourselves. This can take many forms and will ultimately reflect our vision of the world. That has a profound impact on those things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Where was that last one you just said, Bernie? Sorry.
That's the third paragraph on the preface page, VII. Starts with every once.
Yeah, thank you. Everything everybody's picked, I could have picked also. I'm just going to say this is on page 2, the third paragraph. And even though we today do not know exactly the purpose of prayer absolute or of what value this activity may be to the absolute, we know how it was performed, and we have some serious indication that many saints and messengers have thought it so important that they risk their lives to reintroduce it into the life of man. And that resonates with me because, I don't really understand it, but.
And for me, the title Hidden and so that's on the cover, and on the inside first cover, the words at the top says on the cover, and I get this picture of a cover over a cover. So it's like the title, words, the hidden work, which is on top of the painting, between heaven and hell. And I get the it's not really mental. I get this suggestion, but it's kind of like in my throat, that there's a choke that keeps the flow of between heaven and hell and the hidden work from becoming smooth and loose. And I'm hoping by reading this book, again, I will get more loosened up into the content, into the meaning of the book. It has never been an easy book for me to deal with.
Yeah. I have a question. Are we allowed to go back to the last page of the book?
Well, sure, why not?
That has it's like the hidden work, E.J. Gold. The hidden work is a form of prayer which helps the absolute. It is not prayer of man asking help for himself. In real prayer, we do not pray, we make prayer. This prayer is called prayer absolute.
I will see everyone here in 2 weeks, and I really appreciate all the help from everyone, and enjoy chapter 1.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Hi,
Bye-bye.
Thank you
Michelle.
so much, Patricia. Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Have a great
Bye-bye.
one. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.